Yo, Sanjay Uchiha here, people. Giving you my thoughts slash reviews on Naruto Shippuden episodes 481 to, I believe, 483. Yeah, that's right. So, seeing as this arc, which was titled the Boyhood arc, is over based on the preview for next week, I thought I'd do just like a I guess just group my thoughts and impressions on these episodes together. Of course, my episode review for episode 480, yeah, just 480, I believe, is by itself. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you can go check that out. I'll link it in the description box below. Description box, meh. But yeah, so getting into it, starting with episode 481. And for those of you who probably don't know, this arc really is a series of shorts. So each episode, each half is basically focused on one character, usually telling something or retelling something, some event from that character's childhood. So for 481, it was really Sasuke and Sakura. So Sasuke was the first half, and honestly speaking, while I don't think Sasuke's little short was as impactful as Naruto's own in episode 480, it really served as a reminder of that Itachi as a character. Even though this short is focused on Sasuke, it really shows that Itachi, even though he was young, was a person that was beyond his years. And it also showed us that even Sasuke as a character, even though it was in the early stages, it was a major contrast to Naruto, considering that he had his family. But we see that Sasuke still seeks acknowledgement from his father, and the episode does drop hints of the boy's development in the sense that, well, probably I shouldn't say development. It drops hints of their personal yet wavering in this case of Itachi, and at this point in time, non-existent for Sasuke in terms of their fate in the clan. So hints of that were dropped. Um, it was a nice little short where Sasuke is concerned. For the second half, we get to see Sakura, and while being one of the most shit on characters in the franchise, honestly, her little short was kind of refreshing. While she didn't have as much to deal with as Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata, her short was a bit, as I said, refreshing. It really showed that even if you're better off than others, you might still have your share of problems, essentially. And at the end of the day, we as people, all of us as people really have our insecurities to deal with. In Sakura's case, she's young. She's kind of conscious of her forehead. It's really big, I guess. And kids tease her about it. So that it was a nice little short there. And of course, they played one of the old OSTs from Part 1 Naruto, which I found was pretty cool. All in all, episode 481, a decent addition to this arc. Um, of course, I still believe that 480 was a stronger entry. Of course, even in this episode, Sasuke's half, I think, was the better half, despite Sakura's own being a bit refreshing, as I mentioned. For 482 now, it really focused on Gaara and Shikamaru. And honestly, Gaara's half was the first, and what this episode really serves to do is it's like a reminder of the strategy that Studio Period is really going for with this arc, and that we see snippets of Gaara's childhood, which is much like Naruto's, funny enough. And you might think that's repetitive, but I didn't. Um, this little short for Gaara in itself isn't bad, even though it felt like I was watching Naruto's own, because for this arc specifically, Naruto's entry in the arc is one of the stronger entries to me. And so far, Gaara's segment here, it really managed to replicate the feeling you would get from the Naruto segment, but establishes itself as its own independent entity. So it doesn't really feel like I'm saying, I've seen this. I mean, we've seen a lot of this already, but in the context of this arc, you know. So, uh, in it's not okay. I'm rambling a bit here, but essentially, it's not too repetitive in that Gaara does have a family as opposed to Naruto, but I'd say his family from this perspective, well, his perspective, they're not the loving and supportive family you'd want. So I guess give or take, pick your poison where these characters are concerned. People essentially hate and fear him throughout the village. So and it was kind of heart wrenching to see that at this point, essentially, Gara is this child that's really just reaching out and seeking love at this point, and he's really just trying to make sense of the world at the end of the day. But moving on, Shikamaru's segment in this was alright. It's not bad, but it just felt a bit weak to me. It really focused more so on Shikamaru's interaction with like Naruto and Choji in the days of the academy. You know, ranging from things like small arguments, being put out of a class, pulling pranks on Iruka. So it was still kind of cool to see that the boys were at least friends, to say the least. So one thing I did like about Shikamaru's segment is that it gave some insight into his character. Well, probably should I say foreshadowing? Like, because we know what's gonna happen already, but in the sense that Choji does reference the game of shogi, and basically how Shikamaru told him that every piece is important. This is where we get a scene where Shikamaru essentially calls Naruto an idiot, and Choji brings that up. So we know later on in the series how important the game of shogi is to Shikamaru. Um, Via what was portrayed of him playing the game with Asuma, and Asuma essentially teaching him life lessons throughout the game. So we get to see from early on that Shikamaru as a character, he's he's pretty mature for his age, even though he's lazy as all shit. But it's still cool to see. All in all, oh whoa, yeah, sorry about that. All in all, episode 482. I think it was a stronger entry than 481. But moving on, the last episode of this arc, Jiraiya and Kakashi. Honestly speaking, these episodes feel like they have. It's like each half. There's never an episode where each both halves are equal. Essentially, one half really stands out more than the other to me, and it was the same here in 483 with Jiraiya and Kakashi, where in Jiraiya's segment it wasn't necessarily the best in the arc, but similar to Sakura's segment, it was a bit refreshing, as it really gives some humor. It served as a reminder of like one of Jiraiya's many failures, essentially. That the failure, you just didn't get that girl, my bro. Didn't get that girl. So yeah, there was that. We do get some nice character interaction between Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade, which is always a pleasure to see, I must say. I believe it was a scene from the third Great Ninja War, if I'm not mistaken, in which the characters really talk about their dreams, and we get from Orochimaru that his dream is to master like all ninjutsu and become more powerful than anybody else. Which, even though we already know that, I found it to be interesting because anytime we get any scenes of Orochimaru opening up about his dreams and aspirations, I find it intriguing, yet in a strange way disappointing, because Orochimaru is that one character, well, one of the characters I felt Kishimoto could have delved in more. As in, he didn't have to really set him up to say get taught no jutsu, but I always wanted more, I guess, context, more reasons behind Orochimaru's actions. We know that his parents died when he was young, but that's about it. So, yeah, that's that. Um, Kakashi segments, the last segment in this entire arc. It really deals with how Kakashi handled life after his father's death. Um, the society in this instance, which is the village, their perception essentially of his father's failure. It You can see that it really weighs heavily on Kakashi as he tries to go day by day. Now throughout the days, we see him like he lives alone, of course. He does his own chores, cleans, whatever. Every time he leaves the house, he says he's leaving, like somebody's there. So it really, it really must have been pressuring or depressing to say the least where Kakashi is concerned. I mean, he's dealing with a lot. And it's not just that. He deals with a lot while interacting with characters who he actually considers friends. So it's cool to see. In this case, though, it would be Obito, Rin, and Guy to say to a degree, I guess. It's nice to honestly, this segment is a nice end to the arc, and it really stands out as one of the stronger entries, along with the Naruto segment, the Gaara segment, and I think followed by the Sasuke segment. I would definitely put it above the Sasuke segment though. It really shows Kakashi trying his best to conform with society's perception of how a shinobi should be, while trying to step out of his father's shadow in a way. As we get a scene where like he visits his father's grave at the end, and he promises that he's not going to be like him. He's going to follow the rules. So yeah, I think it was one of the stronger entries. All in all, this little mini arc essentially was it was pretty good. Um, I like the art. It had a nice artistic touch in the way things were portrayed, in the sense that these are things that we've essentially seen already. These are things that we've seen probably 1,000 times in one form or another. But essentially, Naruto, yeah, because Naruto is a series that we see things like 1,000 times. We see this one thing 1,000 times, but this art really it put a nice artistic touch on showcasing things that we already know essentially, and that's what I like, especially its use of ever since I believe episode 479. The use of old OSTs from part one was it's if you're a long time Naruto fan, it really stands out to you, and I guess it adds to the flair of it. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, other than that, the animation was pretty consistent throughout the arc. I can't complain. Um, well, I believe it's next week if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check that. But we'll be starting, I believe, the adaptation of the novels. Well, we already started, but Sasuke's novel that was part of the Naruto New Era project. We'll be starting the anime adaptation for that. I myself haven't really read the novel, but I'm hoping, because I'm a guy that loves when things stick to the source material. At least 80, 85, 90%. There's room for a little twists there, but I like when things stick to the source material. So I'm hoping the book itself was good, and we get to see some awesome shit from Sasuke, and character development wise. So I don't know. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. I don't know if I have a lot of Naruto fans as subscribers, but I don't know. Leave your comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want me to, I guess, review. Well, I plan to, but give me your thoughts on if I should review the upcoming episodes with Sasuke on this journey of atonement. And this is Sanjay Uchiha, and I'll see you in the next one.